Daedalus fled to Crete, where he found refuge under Minos' protection. The rest of the story has already been recounted in our previous work. Written in the stars, curses, dual personality. Minos failed to fulfill his promise to sacrifice a bull to Poseidon. So Poseidon asked Aphrodite to help him punish Minos. Aphrodite caused Pasiphae, the wife of King Minos, to fall in love with the bull. Pasiphae asked Daedalus to build her a hollow wooden bull. She climbed inside the bull, molding her body to its shape, and mated with the bull, giving birth to the Minotaur. King Minos ordered Daedalus to build a labyrinth and imprison the Minotaur inside it. In 1252 BC, Theseus killed the Minotaur with the help of Ariadne, the daughter of King Minos. He also abducted Minos' two daughters, Ariadne and Phaedra. Enraged, Minos realized that without Daedalus' assistance, Theseus could not have entered the labyrinth to slay the Minotaur and then safely exit it. He imprisoned Daedalus and his son Icarus in the labyrinth. King Minos also strictly controlled all ships, prohibiting any vessel from sailing without a thorough search. Thus, Daedalus had no way to escape Crete by sea. Daedalus looked up at the sky and believed that flying like a bird was the only way to escape. He used feathers from various birds, combining them with thread and beeswax. He crafted wings for himself and his son Icarus, wings that humans had never before used. Before preparing for flight, Daedalus warned his son not to fly too high, as the sun's heat would melt the beeswax and cause the feathers to disintegrate. Nor should he fly too low, as the sea foam would soak the feathers, making them heavy. Once everything was ready, humanity's first flight began. Daedalus and Icarus fled Crete, passing by the island of Samos, and then crossed the island of Delos. After crossing the island of Levitha, the confident Icarus grew bold, driven by curiosity, and began soaring toward the sun. The sun's heat began to melt the beeswax that held the feathers together. Icarus continued to flap his arms, trying to keep flying at high altitude. But when he saw the loose feathers falling like snowflakes, he realized he had no feathers left. He frantically flapped his bare arms and eventually fell into the sea. Upon seeing Icarus's wings floating in the sea, Daedalus wept. He eventually found Icarus's body on the shore of the island and buried his son there. At that moment, a partridge flew by. It was Perdiccas, Daedalus's nephew, whom he had murdered, mocking Daedalus's craftsmanship and the death of his son. This island is located in the Aegean Sea, 10 nautical miles southwest of Samos Island, and was later named Icaria. The southeastern part of the Aegean Sea, where Icarus fell into the water, is also known as the Mare Icarium, or the Icarian Sea. In early Han Chinese mythology, there was a virtuous man named Shun, who lived during the period from approximately 2294 BC to 2184 BC, and was famed for his filial piety. He had 2 pupils in each eye, and was thus called Zhonghua. Legend says Shun lived among the Dongyi tribes in the lower Yangtze, Wai, and Yellow River basins. His father was blind, hence the name Gusu, meaning blind elder. His first wife, Wodang, witnessed a huge rainbow and became pregnant as a result. She gave birth to Shun at a place called Yashu. She died shortly after giving birth to Shun. Gusu's second wife gave birth to a daughter named Keshu and a son named Shang. Once, the grain store at home leaked, so Gusu asked Shun to repair it. Legend has it that Shun's wives were heavenly maidens, and they naturally saw through this plot. They wove him a set of clothes decorated with colorful bird patterns and told him,
"If they light a fire to burn you, put on the magpie clothes and fly away like a bird."
When Shun climbed to the top of the granary to repair the leak, his stepmother had Shang pile up firewood beneath the granary and set it ablaze. In a moment of desperation, Shun pulled up his wide-brimmed rain hat with both hands, donned the garment adorned with bird wings, and flew away like a bird. The garment adorned with bird-shaped patterns may have been crafted from feathers or similar materials, woven to mimic the wings of a bird. Once again, the stepmother ordered Shun to dig a well. Shun's wives foresaw the stepmother's plot and instructed Shun to carve a secret passageway in the side wall of the well, leading to the river outside. They wove him a garment adorned with lung patterns. When Shun reached the bottom of the well, his stepmother and Shang began to pour dirt into the well to bury him. Shun crawled through the secret passage to the river and swam away wearing the lung-patterned robe. This time, both his stepmother and Shang believed Shun was dead and were overjoyed. Shang claimed the idea was his and demanded that Shun's wives and concubines, along with his zither, be given to him, while the cattle, sheep, and granaries be given to the two elderly men. Shang moved into Shun's house, played Shun's zither, and had Shun's wives serve him tea. Later, Shun returned home. Shang was first greatly startled, then felt very uneasy, and said,
"I was deeply saddened by your absence."
Shun replied,
Is that so? You are truly a good younger brother.
After that, Shun remained extremely filial to his parents and continued to care for his younger brother. The legend of Shun has been distorted many times. Chinese Confucianism upholds the conservative traditions of Confucianism, requiring moral education of the people and governance of the country through loyalty and filial piety. As a result, many myths have been misinterpreted, including the embellishment of Shun. In Yao's time, the leaders of the various tribes elected a common ruler, the emperor, rather than having the emperor's son inherit the throne. However, Shun disrupted this system. He imprisoned Yao and forced him to abdicate and hand over the crown to Shun. Shun also sealed off information, preventing Yao's son Dongju from learning the truth. Upon learning the truth, Dongju led the troops of the Samyao tribe to attack Shun, and the two sides engaged in a major battle at Danpu. Danju's capable general, Quafu, the leader of the giant tribe, died after mistakenly entering the Great Marsh while attempting to capture the sun. In the mythical tale of Quafu chasing the sun that we have previously recounted, Quafu set out from the eastern seaboard, taking giant strides as he relentlessly pursued the sun as it moved westward. As he drew closer to the sun, he became extremely thirsty and drank up all the water from the Yellow River and the Wei River. Still unable to quench his thirst, Quafu then headed toward the Great Marsh, the legendary northern region where accumulated ice. However, he collapsed and died nearby due to extreme fatigue and thirst. His body transformed into a great mountain in the area, and the staff he had dropped became a peach grove. The legend Quafu chasing the sun here likely refers to the pursuit of Shun. In Sumerian mythology, the sun god is Shamash, a name derived from the Akkadian word Samsu. In ancient Roman mythology, the sun god is Sol. In Indian mythology, the sun god is Surya. In English, the sun derives from the Romance language, Sol. Its pronunciation is almost identical to Shun. Shun's surname was Yao, and his name was Zhonghua, so Shun is more likely a tribal name. Shun's mother conceived him after being moved by a rainbow and gave birth to him in Yoshu, a place named Shu within the Ya tribe. The rainbow itself is formed by sunlight reflecting off water vapor. Shu is the Shu mansion among the 28 lunar mansions of China. In ancient China, the stars near the ecliptic and celestial equator on the celestial sphere were divided into 28 regions, each called a mansion. The Shu mansion is located in the north. The sun rises daily at the position of the Shu mansion. Shun's younger brother, Shang, is the shadow cast by the sun's rays. According to records in the Book of Han, Painting History Essentials, Xuan Jizi, and Shibin, Shun's sister, Keshu, was the first person to paint and is known as the ancestor of painting. Painting is also associated with light, and Keshu's painting may have been that of a shaman who worshipped the sun. Therefore, the tribe where Shun was born may have worshipped the sun. The Shun tribe worshipped the sun, and it is possible that this tribe migrated from the west to the central plains of China. In ancient Greek mythology, Phaethon was the son of the sun Helios and Clymene, one of the Oceanids. When Phaethon grew up, Clymene revealed his true origins to him and urged him to seek his father's approval at the sun's dwelling place. The ancient Roman poet Ovid recorded in his Metamorphoses,
By that brightness marked out by glittering rays, that sees us and hears us, I swear to you, my son, that you are the child of the sun, of that being you see. You are the child of he who governs the world. If I lie, may he himself decline to look on me again, and may this be the last light to reach our eyes. It is no great effort for you yourself to find your father's house. The place he rises from is near our land. If you have it in mind to do so, go and ask the sun himself.
After Phaethon found his father, the excited father swore to give him anything he wanted. Phaethon then requested to drive his father's sun chariot for one day. The sun god tried to persuade him to change his request, as his son was not yet capable of such a task, and it would bring disaster upon himself and humanity. However, Phaethon refused to listen. On the day Phaethon drove the chariot, the horses pulling it felt the chariot was empty without the sun god's weight. As a result, the horses became uncontrollable and veered off the original path. First, they rose too high, causing the earth to become cold. Then they descended, scorching the earth and turning most of Africa into a desert. They also brought the blood of the Ethiopians to the surface of their skin, causing it to darken. The earth cried out to Zeus for help, and Zeus was forced to strike Phaethon dead with a lightning bolt. Phaethon fell like a meteor, burning brightly as he plunged into the Daedalus river. Phaethon's male lover, Cygnus, mourned Phaethon's death and was transformed into a swan by the gods. The original meaning of Cygnus is swan. The sisters of Phaethon, Heliates, meaning daughters of the sun. According to Hyginus, there were 7 Heliates: Merope, Helle, Eagle, Lampetia, Phoebe, Aetheri, and Dioxype. Once, they helped their brother secure the sun chariot. The Heliades mourned their brother's death for 4 months, and the gods transformed them into poplar trees, turning their terse into amber. There are legends that Phaethon had multiple sisters, all of whom were transformed into poplar trees. In Han Chinese mythology, Yu followed Shun's example and imprisoned him, forcing Shun to abdicate. Shun may also have been killed by Yu. After Shun's death, his wives, Ewang and Nying, cried day and night, and their tears fell on the bamboo trees along the Shang River, turning them into spotted Shangfei bamboo. The 2 women later jumped into the Shang River and committed suicide. The mourning of Shun and the mourning of Phaethon both feature similar plot elements, with the women's tears turning into amber and spotted bamboo. That may be a coincidence, but it is more likely a variation that occurred as the myth migrated from the west to the east. The inscription on Phaethon's tombstone reads,
Here Phaethon lies who in the sun god's chariot fared, and though greatly he failed, more greatly he dared.
The spirit expressed in this epitaph is entirely consistent with the story of Quafu chasing the sun. In Han Chinese mythology, the story of Quafu chasing the sun may reflect Quafu's campaign against Shun, who lured him step by step into the Great Marsh, where Quafu was trapped and died. Shun also received support from the Hui tribe, renowned for their archery skills. Dongju ultimately suffered defeat in the Battle of Dampu. His descendants migrated to regions such as Henan, Hunan, Hebei, and Shandong. Due to the heavy casualties on both sides in this great battle, Dongju was later depicted as a malevolent deity or a malevolent god presiding over disasters. However, in the regions of southern China where minority ethnic groups reside, Dongju holds a high status. For example, in Hunan and Guangdong, Dongju is revered as the Emperor of Hengshan and Emperor Dongju. Shun did not ascend to the throne legitimately, so he needed to embellish his lineage. He claimed that his father, Gusu, was the 8th-generation descendant of the Yellow Emperor, the 7th-generation descendant of Chang'e, the 6th-generation descendant of Emperor Zhuangshu, the great-great-grandson of Qiangchen, the great-grandson of Jinkang, the grandson of Gu Wang, and the son of Qiaoniu. Such a prestigious lineage left no record of his real name, clearly a genealogy embellished by later Confucian scholars. However, Gusu, being blind, could marry 2 wives, and his latest wives sought to have their sons inherit the family estate, resorting to various means to murder Shun. Therefore, Gusu was more likely a tribal chieftain. In legend, Shun's wife was the celestial weaver girl. Later Confucian scholars revised the story to say that Emperor Yao sought out a virtuous person who could succeed him as emperor, and the leaders of the tribes recommended Shun. To test whether Shun was truly virtuous, Yao married his 2 daughters, Ewing and Nying, to Shun. This legend is too illogical. To send his 2 daughters as spies without first testing him. What if Shun was a great villain? From the later usurpation of the throne, it is clear that Shun was by no means a virtuous person. Shun also exiled his younger brother Shang, so the stories about Shun being framed by his brother and stepmother are likely fabricated. Mencius specifically explained in Mencius, Book 2, Chapter 1 that the notion of Shun exiling his younger brother Shang was a misunderstanding, and that he should have been granted a fiefdom to manage and pay tribute. Mencius specifically defended the legend that Shun's exile of his younger brother serves to confirm that Confucianism not only idealized Emperor Shun, but also altered many historical facts of Han Chinese mythology. The marriage of Ewang and Nying to Shun as his wives is more likely to have occurred around the time of Shun's usurpation of the throne. Shun's original wives may have been shamans, similar to his sister who practiced witchcraft. The legendary garments adorned with bird-shaped patterns and dragon robes align with shamanic traditions and also reflect later Taoist traditions. The principle is to first mimic the form and then grasp the essence. During rituals, symbolic objects are used, and through the application of spells or incantations, these objects acquire the properties of the objects they mimic. Taoism also holds that form and meaning are interconnected, and that form and content complement each other. Form reflects meaning, meaning shapes form, is also a simple, natural human understanding. The flights of Daedalus and Shun both fall under this category. During the Ming Dynasty, the production of gunpowder became more widespread. In 1380, the Ming government established the Military Equipment Bureau, responsible for the production of conventional weapons and firearms. Later, the imperial household established the Armory Bureau, which worked alongside the Military Equipment Bureau to oversee weapon production, including firearms. Wen Hu of the Ming Dynasty may have been a local official responsible for manufacturing firearms. Some believe he was Dao Chengdao, a scholar official of the early Ming Dynasty, who was granted the title of Wen Hu for his merits. He tied 47 rockets to a chair, sat on it himself, and had his guards simultaneously ignite the rocket tails, propelling the chair into the air. However, the rockets exploded shortly afterward. it is more likely that they burned out and lost propulsion after reaching the sky, causing Wan Hu to fall back to Earth. Wan Hu perished on the spot. His body and the wreckage of the flying machine were found at the foot of the mountain. This story was originally passed down by word of mouth among European missionaries who came to China. Many scholars now believe it to be true. American rocket expert James Smith McDonald believed that Wan Hu was the first person in the world to attempt a manned rocket flight. American writer and journalism professor William Eli Burroughs stated,
"If it really happened, Wan Hu had the triple distinction of being the first person to ride a rocket, the first to fly on a self-propelled, heavier-than-air device, and the first rocket pilot to get killed during a test flight."
To commemorate humanity's first flight, a crater on the far side of the moon was named the Wan Hu crater. After burying Icarus, Daedalus traveled to Camicus on the island of Sicily. King Cocalus granted him asylum. In exchange, Daedalus designed and constructed a temple dedicated to Apollo there. Within the temple, he offered the wings of flight as a sacrifice to Apollo and vowed never to fly again. It is also said that he designed and built bathtubs with piped hot water. European archaeological discoveries have uncovered copper water pipes beneath a palace dating back to around 3300 BC. The earliest known personal-sized bathtub is found on Crete, where a 5 feet long pedestal bathtub made of hardened pottery was discovered. However, in Mesopotamian palaces, archaeologists found bathtubs made of clay as early as around 4500 BC. Minos could not tolerate Daedalus's escape. He began searching for Daedalus from one city to another, determined to uncover his hiding place. In each city, he presented the king with a spiral shell, offering a reward to anyone who could thread a fine line through it. In 1251 BC, when Minos arrived in Camicus, Cocalus knew that Daedalus could solve the shell puzzle. He handed the shell to Daedalus. Daedalus tied the thread to an ant, placed it at one end of the shell, and dripped honey at the other end to lure the ant through the shell. When Minos saw the shell with the thread, he realized Daedalus was in Cocalus's court and insisted that the king hand him over. Due to the power of the kingdom of Crete, Cocalus had no choice but to agree. However, he asked Minos to bathe first. In the bathtub, Cocalus's daughters diverted hot water into the pipes, killing Minos. Minos was wise yet cruel. Thus, the gods appointed him as a judge of the underworld. His half-brother, Icus, also became a judge of the underworld, responsible for judging the souls of Europeans. During his struggle for the throne of Crete, Minos exiled his other brother, Rhadamanthus, who shared the same father Zeus and mother Europa. Rhadamanthus later married Alcmene, the widow of Amphitryon and the mother of Heracles. He also became Heracles' mentor. After his death, Rhadamanthus became a judge in the underworld, responsible for judging the souls of Asians. However, Minos held the final decisive vote. Daedalus was eventually killed by a poisonous snake. One version is that in Telmessos. Telmessos was a colony of Crete, then ruled by another brother of Minos, Sarpedon. A small town named Daedalus was named after him. Another location is in Lycia, where Daedalus was bitten to death. There is also a theory that he was bitten to death on a small island in the Nile River. Edison merely sought to eliminate another great invention, alternating current. Daedalus, on the other hand, killed another great inventor, his nephew. Both were extraordinary individuals, yet they also possessed the base traits of ordinary men. After Daedalus's death, he will face judgment in the underworld by Minos. We do not know the outcome of this judgment. If we were Minos, what verdict would we render for Daedalus? Please subscribe to my channel and write your verdict on Daedalus in the comments section. We will continue our new journey in the next section.